Ron Siegel Radio, your home and mortgage connection.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
And hello again. Welcome to Ron Siegel Radio. This is the show with no real boundaries as we discuss current events, financial markets, politics, sports, even poking fun at the rest of the media. This is the show that connects the dots of confusion delivered by conflicting media reports. We connect the dots so you know the actions you can take, how your family or business can benefit from current events. Most of all, thank you for joining me. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day. We have a very focused show. We only chat about items that affect the roof over your head, your bank account, and anything I feel would benefit you. And then remind you, if you ever have any home or finance-related questions, I am the consumer advocate looking out for you. And you can reach out to me directly, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. Just remember, that's the number you call anytime for assistance. When you call that number, it comes directly to me first. There are operators standing by.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
While I do have a great team when it comes to developing a financing plan, a plan to save you money, I personally work with you. Even if you don't have any needs today, save this number in your phone for future reference. 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And yes, of course, we're celebrating today. Celebrate every day on Ron Siegel Radio. Some of them are good ones. Some of them are not. National No Housework Day.
What's the big idea?
Yeah, I don't know about that one. That's, well, I don't have kids around the house as much anymore. So, and we got the cleaning lady that comes to visit. It's also National Beer Day. If you've listened to Ron Siegel Radio for any length of time, you know I am not a beer drinker. In fact, we'll be going up to Paso Robles this weekend to do a little wine tasting. There's a beer facility right there. Unless we're going with friends who absolutely want beer, we just don't even go to the beer one. Of course, I guess there's a lot of people that aren't drinking nearly as much. It's I don't know what the story is, but I know folks in the alcohol industry, and most of them tell me that alcohol sales are down. So I don't know. And the beer, I had a friend of mine that sold beer on the wholesale level. I guess it was what do they call it? Craft beers. I think it's the craft beers and they had said the more risque the name, the better it sold. Now, I don't know what the correlation is, but who knows? Okay, so let's move right along. It's also, now this one I can get behind, National Coffee Cake Day. Now, I like coffee cake. Not good for my diet, but I do enjoy a good coffee cake. Where do you get good coffee cake? I don't know. Of course, almost anywhere the coffee cake is sold, it's almost all good. I could probably talk about coffee cake all day, but this is a home and finance show. Tune in to listen to me drooling over here about coffee cake. So let's move on with it. Say, look at that. Markets are doing the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Been kind of volatile today. So you look at it, depending upon the minute, it's down 207 right now. The NASDAQ is down 157. S&P 500 is down 23. Oil is up once again. It's up $1.76 a barrel. Ow! Yeah, and we are in the formerly Golden State, and gas prices here are the highest in the country. $4.14 is the national average of a gallon of gasoline. $4.14 national average gallon of gasoline. But here's the issue. In Gavins, California, we're a lot higher than that. We get to pay the highest prices in the land, $5.93 a gallon. Ow! And if you listen to Gavin, which it's kind of hard to do, but those of us that report what's going on do listen sometimes. He talks about the fact that gas is, it's all because of Trump. It's because of the Iran situation. But here's the issue. The national average of a gallon of gasoline has gone up 33 cents. national. In California, Gavin, you don't want to hear this.
What's the big idea?
71 cents a gallon. It's up in California. That has to do with taxes and fees. It doesn't have to do with Iran or anything else. It's California's it's the taxes and fees here in the formerly Golden State. So watch the numbers and do your own research is all I'm saying. Look at where the numbers are. I look and I see that, okay, a week ago, gas prices in California, $5.88. Now it's $5.93. So that's up, what about 7 cents, 5 cents? You're looking at the national numbers. They don't go up nearly as much, 3 cents, 4 cents. So Gavin's California is what really hits all of us in our gas price outlook. And I think there's only 2 states, I think, in the union that have gas prices over 5. Oh, Josh, you just went over the limit. 501 in Nevada. So they've got another, you're joining us there. Oregon's sitting right on the line at $5. Washington, $5.39. Hawaii, $5.60. And California leading the way, $5.93. I'll be on the road this weekend, and I'm sure that I'll start seeing some 6s in the gas prices when I'm out on the highway. Just the way it is, but we're going to go out there and see about doing a little bit of wine drinking. What's driving this market right now? Well, it's going to be pure and simple. What's going to happen in Iran tonight? Will anything happen in Iran tonight? What's happening with oil prices? That's the big issue. Right now, we're sitting on $114 a barrel on oil. And you look at it and you say, okay, $114 a barrel on oil, 10-year treasuries up a half a basis point, 4.346. I'm going to submit that 10-year treasury is probably going to come down. And right now we're looking at the mortgage bond. That's down 12 basis points. That will reverse itself. I don't know whether it's today or tomorrow. Why is all that going to reverse itself? Why do I have those feelings? History. You study the past to better understand the present in hopes of predicting the future. That is the economics definition, according to all my training when I was at Chapman College 40 some years ago. Now, what am I looking at? When oil prices on a barrel of oil, when it doubles, the only time it's doubled historically has been during recessionary times. What happens during recessionary times? You get this flight to safety. That means people are buying the 10-year treasury. They're buying the mortgage-backed security. Those are safe items. They're secure items. When people start buying those, when they want more of them, there's more demand for them. Demand means price up. On any bond, when the price goes up, the yield goes down. That's just a mathematic function. So we're going to start seeing that, I believe. I can't promise you, but you look at some of the Fed folks, and I did see one Fed member, Williams, this morning, said the Iran war will drive up headline inflation. That is short term. It's not going to drive it up long term because recessionary trends, people stop buying. They have to. See, you got to have food. You got to get to work and back. Most of us use gasoline for those things, even though we've got in California where we like to tax the heck out of it. Well, when that happens, other items, we just have to stop buying them. When we stop buying the other items, well, the price drops on the items because that's just supply and demand. The supply continues, but the demand is diminishing. Prices drop. It's just the way it is. So as we continue watching that, and we will watch it for you, the inflation issues will diminish. Sorry, Mr. Williams, that's just facts. And if you're not telling that to people, you're giving incomplete information. That's what we do here on Ron Siegel Radio, is we're giving you the full story. You are listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate current events and the financial markets. When we come back, From believing the myth to making an offer, how one family stopped waiting from $1,350 a month in debt payments to $380. Wow. Yeah. Stop ignoring estate planning. The tax-free window for wealth transfer is coming and more. Reach me anytime. Off-air number 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com, facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you missed any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the number 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Are you a veteran, own a home, and need money? The Siegel Lending Team is here to help veterans refinance and get the money they need. The VA 100 lets you borrow up to 100% of your home's value, refinance your mortgages, consolidate credit cards, and lower your payments by an average of $700 a month. And the Siegel Lending Team knows that character means more than a credit score. Call 800-306-1990. That's 800-306-1990. Rate subject to change without notice. Licensed by the California Department of Corporations, NMLS 21037, and DRE number 0186945. You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now,
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions, as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message. And I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Mortgage Minute today being brought to you by rsrlinks.com/mobile app, rsrlinks.com/mobile app. And every day at this time, OBMMI, they provide the most comprehensive, accurate, timely, and interactive analysis of pricing ever conducted in the mortgage industry, calculated from actual locked rates with consumers across 35% of all mortgage transactions nationwide. They do not tell us points paid, points received, or the APR. They tell us the number you put in your mortgage calculator to determine your principal and interest payment. Mortgage calculators are free from Ron Siegel Radio, rsrlinks.com/calculators, rsrlinks.com/calculators. What did rates do yesterday? Well, mixed bag. Conventional 30-year fixed down 6.331. Jumbo 30-year fixed up 6.571. FHA 30-year fixed down 6.093. VA 30-year fixed down 5.929. Love our veterans. USDA 30-year fixed up 6.01. If you want to know our thoughts about the market as early as the data allows, go join the Ron Siegel Radio community, rsrlinks.com/HBOD. rsrlinks.com/HBOD. That's the Ron Siegel Radio community, and it is free to you. What's driving the markets today? The S&P 500 is now down 28 points. The 10-year Treasury, it's up a little over 1 basis point, 4.351. Mortgage bond down 12 basis points. All of that's available on that super secret website, google.com. But what's not there? What's driving the market? A lot of uncertainty in the markets ahead of the 5 p.m. Pacific time deadline tonight, set by President Trump for the Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz. See what happens. I know they've already done, I think I heard 90 bombing missions just on Karg Island, taking out some of their military installations there. President Trump recently made a very aggressive new post on Truth Social with serious threats to wipe out the civilization of Iran. This comes after an estimated 90 attacks on military targets on Karg Island. Iran is not showing signs of coming to the table, so this war appears to be approaching a point of no return. Very hard to say what will happen. Initially, the rise in oil prices caused rates to rise sharply as it caused inflation fears. But oil prices have continued to rise and rates have been relatively steady as the market appears to have shifted its focus from higher inflation to the longer-term impact of higher oil prices, which is demand destruction, a slowdown, and potentially a recession. Historically, since World War II, except for COVID, when oil prices have doubled, there's always a recession to follow. Right now, WTI is at $115.25 a barrel. But if it reaches $120 a barrel or more, it would be double the price it was January when it was $60 a barrel. The March ISM Services Index fell from 56 to 54 beneath estimates of 55. The rise in oil prices, as well as others impacted by the Strait of Hormuz closure, caused prices paid to rise from 63 to almost 71, which matches the highest since August 2022. The employment component was exceptionally weak. It declined by almost 7 points to 45, the weakest since December 2023. This is in stark contrast to what the BLS said in March. BLS said there was 178,000 jobs created, but that includes 18,000 government jobs lost. Private payrolls rose 196,000 versus 62,000 in ADP, 19,000 in Revelio, and now the weakest ISM services reading in 28 months. Do you think BLS was wrong once again?
Such an idiot.
Yeah, they generally are. ADP weekly employment data released today, their weekly employment report, showing that private employers added an average of 26,000 jobs per week in the 4 weeks ending March 21st. This is a sign that this is higher than the readings we have been seeing, forecasting around 100,000 jobs in the next monthly report for now. But things can change. There was also a survey done of employees in the U.S. showing that only 28% of the workers feel their job is safe. Very low figure, likely impacted by the economic climate and the rise of AI. Durable goods orders for February is also released, and while the headline was weak, the internals were a bit stronger. The headline fell 1.4%, which was much weaker than estimates, but all due to a decline in aircraft orders. Core durable goods, which strips out defense spending and aircraft, rose 0.6% versus the 0.4% expected. Tempering the gain was 0.4% negative revision to the previous core reading. Core shipments, which gets plugged into GDP, rose 0.9%, was stronger than anticipated, which could lead to a slight upward revision to GDP estimates. And Cotality Home Prices, they released their February home price insights, showing that home values nationwide were unchanged. They also reported that home values are up 0.5% year over year, down from 0.7% in the previous report. They forecast that home values will rise 0.3% in March and will increase by 4.7% over the next 12 months. We like that. That's been revised higher from 4.4%. Very optimistic tone from Cotality. Clearly, they feel that rates will cycle lower, causing a rise in demand and home values. Make sure that you understand this. Make sure that you are licking, and I'll tell you in a minute. That's the Mortgage Minute, brought to you by rsrlinks.com/mobile app, rsrlinks.com/mobile app. So what am I going to tell you in a minute? If we anticipate that interest rates are going to drop, what do you need to do today? 2 things. Go and visit rsrlinks.com/what's your number. rsrlinks.com/what's your number. Very, very important. Why do I show it and say it's very important? That's the whole issue here. Gina, I'm going to answer your question in just a minute. What's your number? If you don't understand the what's your number, what is it not in interest rates? What's the number in that'll make it good benefit for your household to restructure their financing, their home financing? And yes, we do have a segment coming up on that, on how going from $1,350 a month in debt payments to $380. This is all strategy. So you have to have a plan. Strategy beats rate always. So you have to have a plan, and the plan starts with knowing what it'll take to make you move, to take action, to help your own household. Well, where do you start? Well, I told you about what's your number, and then the question becomes, are you prepared? That's key steps. rsrlinks.com/key steps. That's getting your budget in order. That's getting your credit report in order. That's getting your assets in order. It all start monitoring your credit, monitoring your identity for theft. rsrlinks.com/keysteps. rsrlinks.com/keysteps. Gina, the answer to your question is very, very simple. She says, why did your president butted in? I'm not sure. I think she means butt in. But here's the answer to your question. It's called intercontinental ballistic missiles. We all know, according to the intelligence or according to research, that Iran has all the components to make a bomb that'll go, or a missile that'll go 8,100 miles. Google it. Try and figure out what 8,100 miles is from Iran. Yes, that is the United States. They were 2 weeks away from getting nuclear, converting their 60% enriched uranium to 90%. That's called a nuclear bomb. They already sent a missile, not 2,500 miles, which could hit most of Europe. When you Google 8,100 miles, that hits the United States. Didn't want to have them have a nuclear bomb that could go to the United States. That's why he butted in, according to your terms, butted in. So, Gina, there's the answer to your question. 49 years they've been trying to do this. They've been going after us, and they've been killing Americans every year, not just when it started with taking over our embassy and taking the hostages, or with the coal where President Clinton could have taken care of this. It's been ongoing, long term. So that's the answer to your question. Why my president butted in. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. When we come back, from believing the myth to making an offer, how one family stopped waiting. From $1,350 a month in debt payments to $380. Yeah. Wonder what that'll do. An extra $1,000 a month to your budget? Stop ignoring estate planning. The tax-free window for wealth transfer is closing. All that and more. Reach me anytime. Off-air number 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you missed any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Confused about the home buying process? Or curious how much you really know about buying a home? Take the First Home IQ quiz to test your understanding of buying a home. Created by the nonprofit First Home IQ, this 5-minute quiz will give you a score, what you missed, and why. Take the quiz in 5 minutes at rsrlinks.com/FHIQ and find out what you need to know about buying your first home. That's rsrlinks.com/FHIQ.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now,
welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions, as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Real-time real estate segment today being brought to you by rsrmoney.com, rsrmoney.com. You've heard it. Maybe even you've said it yourself. What's the point of trying to buy a house? The big investors are scooping them all up anyway. It's one of those things that gets repeated so often. People just assume it's true. What if I told you the actual number might surprise you? I am Ron Siegel, Certified Liability Advisor, helping families build wealth through strategic debt management. So let's talk about what's really going on with institutional investors in the housing market, because this is one of those stories where the headlines and the data don't match up. There are roughly 86 million single-family homes in this country. That's a big number. Now, when we talk about large institutional investors, we're talking about companies that own more than 1,000 properties. The kind of names you see in the news, the ones people point to and say, see, they're making all that, they're taking all the houses. So how many of those 86 million homes do they actually own? According to Data Batch, it's 0.4%. Let me say that again. 0.4%. That's less than half of 1% of all the single-family homes in America. Does that mean there are zero issues with investor activity in certain markets? No. There are pockets, there are neighborhoods, there are zip codes where investor purchases have had an impact. I'm not going to pretend that doesn't exist. But the national picture, it's nothing close to what social media posts and the scary headlines want you to believe. So why does this matter to you? Because I talk to people every single week who have convinced themselves that buying a home is pointless right now. They've read the articles, they've seen the posts, and they've decided to sit on the sidelines because they think the game is rigged. But the game isn't rigged. The math doesn't support that conclusion, not even close. Here's what I see happen all the time. A family reaches out and says, Ron, we want to buy, but we feel like we can't compete. And when we sit down and actually look at their situation, their income, their credit, their savings, we find out they're in much better position than they thought. The thing holding them back wasn't the market. It wasn't the investors. It was the story they were telling themselves based on information that just wasn't accurate. And look, I get it. When you see a headline that says Wall Street is buying up all the houses, that feels big and threatening. But 0.4% is not all the houses. That's a rounding error. The vast majority of homes in this country are owned by families, individuals, and small landlords, people like you and me. So what should you actually do with this information? First, stop letting fear-based headlines make your decisions for you. The housing market has challenges, sure. Rates, prices, inventory, all real factors. But big investors bought everything. It's not one of them. Not at 0.4%. Second, if you've been thinking about buying and you've been putting it off because you assumed the deck was stacked against you, it's time to take a fresh look. Your situation might be a lot better than you think. Here's what I'd suggest. Head over to rsrlinks.com/certified buyer. rsrlinks.com/certified buyer. That is our certified buyer program, and it's designed to show you exactly where you stand as a buyer. No guessing, no assumptions, just real numbers. And if you want to take a step further and look at your full financial picture, your budget, your next steps, go to rsrlinks.com/keysteps. That's rsrlinks.com/keysteps. Either way, you'll have a clear picture of what's actually possible for you. Don't let a myth keep you from building wealth. The homes are out there. The opportunity is out there. The question is whether you're going to act on real information or keep sitting on the sidelines because of a story that the data just doesn't support. I am Ron Siegel, your Certified Liability Advisor, helping families build wealth through strategic debt management. Thanks for listening to the Real-Time Real Estate segment brought to you by rsrmoney.com, rsrmoney.com. Borrow Smart segment today being brought to you by gethomeselect.com, gethomeselect.com. Have you ever heard of a financial tool that lets you give away millions of dollars to your kids or grandkids and pay little to no gift tax on it? Sounds too good to be true, right? Well, it's not. It's called a grantor retained annuity trust, and it's been around for over 2 decades. The question is, why hasn't anyone told you about it? I am Ron Siegel, Certified Liability Advisor, helping families build wealth through strategic debt management. Today, I want to talk about something that falls squarely into the estate planning world. And I know when you say estate planning, some of you start tuning out. You think that's for billionaires. That's not for me. But stick with me here because this one might surprise you. A grantor retained annuity trust, or GRAT, is a tool that's been used since around the year 2000. That's when the U.S. tax court made a ruling that opened the door for what's called a zeroed out GRAT. And that ruling changed the game for families who want to pass wealth to the next generation without getting crushed by taxes. So how does it work? Let me walk you through it. You set up an irrevocable trust for a set number of years. You put assets into it. Could be stocks, could be real estate, could be a share of a business. Then every year during the term of that trust, the trust pays you back an annuity. You're getting your original value back plus a rate of return that the IRS sets. Here's where it gets interesting. If those assets grow faster than the IRS rate of return, and they often do, then when the trust term ends, whatever is left over passes to your beneficiaries, your kids, your grandkids. And here's the key part. It passes with little or no gift tax because you structured it so the gift at the time you created the trust was technically worth zero. Let me give you a simple example. And I'm not saying you have this amount of money. I'm not saying this is about you. It's just an example. Say you put $10 million worth of stock into a GRAT with 2-year term. Over the 2 years, that stock grows to $12 million. The trust pays you back your $10 million plus the IRS rate, but that extra $2 million in growth, that goes to your beneficiaries tax-free. You just moved $2 million out of your taxable estate without using any of your lifetime gift tax exemption. Now, is this only for people with 10 million? No. The numbers scale. The concept works at many income levels. The point is, if you have assets that you expect to grow in value, a GRAT lets you capture that growth and move it to the next generation in a tax-efficient way. This is especially popular with people who own shares in startup companies. Think about it. If you're holding pre-IPO stock and that stock takes off after the company goes public, the appreciation can be enormous. A GRAT lets you move that appreciation to your heirs without it eating into your lifetime exemption. Now, I always look to talk about both sides. There are risks here. If you set up a GRAT and you pass away before the trust term ends, those assets go right back into your taxable estate. Your beneficiaries get nothing from the trust. So your health and the length of the trust term matter. And if the assets don't grow or they lose value, then the GRAT didn't do its job. There's nothing extra to pass along. That's why this is a strategy conversation, not a product conversation. You need to work with the right professionals who understand your full financial picture. And that's something I talk about all the time. It's not about any one tool. It's about how the tools fit together inside your overall plan. And here's something else worth knowing. There have been proposals in Congress over the years to limit or even eliminate the benefits of GRATs. So far, those proposals have not passed, but they keep coming up, which means if this is something that makes sense for your situation, the window could close. It's worth having a conversation sooner rather than later. So what should you do with this information? 2 things. First, if you're thinking about estate planning, and especially if you have assets that you expect to appreciate, go to rsrlinks.com/estate. That's rsrlinks.com/estate, ESTATE. That will connect you with the right estate planning professionals who can walk you through whether a GRAT or another strategy is the right fit for you. And second, if you want to take a broader look at your financial picture, at your debts, your assets, your overall strategy, go to rsrlinks.com/keysteps. That's rsrlinks.com/keysteps. That's where we start the conversation about building a real plan. Remember, strategy beats rate always, and that applies to estate planning just as much as it applies to your mortgage. That's not about any single number. It's about how all the pieces work together to protect your family and building lasting wealth. I am Ron Siegel, your Certified Liability Advisor, helping families build wealth through strategic debt management. Thanks for listening to the Borrow Smart segment brought to you by GetHomeSelect.com, GetHomeSelect.com. You are listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. When we come back, from $1,300 a month in debt payments to $380, and finally breathing again. All that and more. Reach me anytime. Off-air number, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com, Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the number 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Do you know a homeowner experiencing divorce? Do you know a real estate reference and the divorce decree could cost tens of thousands of dollars? A certified divorce mortgage planning and real estate report could save you thousands of dollars, and it's free from your local certified divorce lending professional. Reach out to Ron today. RonIsMyLender.com. Again, RonIsMyLender.com. Licensed under NMLS 217037, Equal Housing Lender.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions, as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Your Credit Matters segment today being brought to you by rsrlinks.com/debt-free, rsrlinks.com/debt-free. Ever sit down and actually add up everything you owe? The mortgage, the car payment, the credit cards, maybe a student loan still hanging around. Most people don't, and that's exactly where the trouble starts. I am Ron Siegel, Certified Liability Advisor, helping families build wealth through strategic debt management. So here's something I want you to think about today. Not all debt is the same, and the way most people handle their debt, it's costing them a fortune. They don't even realize it. Let me break this down. There are really two big categories of debt. You've got secured debt and you've got unsecured debt. Secured debt means there's an asset backing the loan, your mortgage. That's secured by your home. Your car loan, secured by the car. If you stop paying, the lender can take the asset back. Pretty simple. Unsecured debt is the other side. Credit cards, personal loans, medical bills, student loans. There's no collateral behind those. But don't think that means there are no consequences. Miss enough payments on a credit card, and you'll hear from a collections agency. They can even garnish your wages. Now, here's where it gets interesting. You've probably heard people say things like good debt and bad debt. And I understand why people use those terms. A mortgage can help you build wealth over time. A student loan can lead to a better career. Those feel like good reasons to borrow money. But here's what I want you to understand. It's not about whether the debt is good or bad. It's about whether you have a strategy for managing it. Because even so-called good debt can become a problem if you're not looking at the full picture. And what is that full picture? It's your household blended interest rate. That's the weighted average of every single interest rate across every debt you carry. Your mortgage at 6%, your car loan at 7%, your credit cards at 22%. When you blend all of that together, you get one number that tells you the real cost of your total debt. Most people have never calculated this. They're focused on one debt at a time. They hear that credit card rates are high, so they throw extra money at the credit card. Or they hear they should pay off the mortgage early, so they send extra principal payments to the bank every month. But they're not looking at the whole picture, and that's where the mistakes happen. Let me give you an example, and I'm going to use numbers that are realistic right here in Southern California. Let's call her Maria. Maria owns a home worth about $1 million with a mortgage balance around $700,000 at 6.25%. She's got a car loan, about $35,000 at 8%. She's carrying $25,000 in credit card debt across two cards, one at 19% and one at 24%. Personal loan of $10,000, 12%. And here's one most people don't think about. She's got $8,000 in medical bills she's been paying off on a monthly plan. Now that medical debt, the interest rate is zero. The hospital isn't even charging her a dime in interest. Most people would say, leave that one alone. Focus on the credit cards. And I get why they'd say that. But stick with me, because this is where strategy starts to separate itself from the usual advice. Maria is doing what most people do, making all their minimum payments, throwing an extra few hundred a month at her credit cards because she read online that you should attack the highest rate first. That's not bad advice on the surface, but it's a tactic, not a strategy. And tactics without a strategy cost you money. When we sat down and calculated Maria's household blended interest rate across all of her debts, the number told the real story. It wasn't the 6.25% on her mortgage that she felt okay about. It wasn't the 24% on her credit card that scared her. It was the blended number across everything that actually matters. And more important than that blended rate was what all those separate payments were doing to her monthly cash flow. Here's what Maria was paying out every single month. Her mortgage payment, her car payment, minimum payments on 2 credit cards, a personal loan payment, and that medical bill, $400 a month on a payment plan. Add it all up, and Maria had over $1,350 a month going out the door just on the non-mortgage consumer debt. $1,350 every month. That's not counting her mortgage or her car. Meanwhile, she's sitting on roughly $300,000 in home equity. $300,000 sitting in the walls of her house, not earning anything, not doing anything for her. This is where the quick and easy home equity loan comes in. We talked about this on a recent show, and it fits perfectly here. This loan takes about 20 minutes of your time, and it can be funded in 7 to 10 days. It focuses on the equity you've already built, and the rate is based on a small margin over the prime lending rate, which for most people is going to come in well below what they're paying on credit cards, personal loans, and other consumer debt. So Maria takes out a home equity loan and uses it to consolidate the credit cards, personal loan, and yes, medical bills. That's $43,000 in separate debts rolled into one payment. Now I know what some of you are thinking. Ron, why would you take 0% medical debt and put it into a loan that has any interest at all? That doesn't make sense. And if all you're looking at is the interest rate, you're right, it doesn't. But you're not just looking at rate. We're looking at cash flow. We're looking at the whole picture. Those separate debts were costing Maria over $1,350 a month in combined payments. The credit card minimums, the personal loan, the medical payment plan, 5 different bills, 5 different due dates, 5 different drains on her checking account every single month. After the consolidation, one payment, about $380 a month. Let that sink in. Maria went from $1,350 a month to $380 a month. That's nearly $1,000 every month, back in her cash flow. Almost $12,000 a year. Maria didn't get a raise. She didn't pick up a side job. She didn't cancel every subscription and stop going out to dinner. She restructured the debt she already had using the equity she'd already built and put nearly $1,000 a month back in her pocket. That's real money. That's an emergency fund that actually gets funded. That's retirement contributions that actually get made. That's the difference between reaching for a credit card when the car breaks down and being able to write a check. That $12,000 a year is what gives a family breathing room. It's what gives you options. Yes, she's paying a small amount of interest on the medical portion now, but she freed up nearly $1,000 a month in cash flow. Her household blended interest rate came down because those credit cards and that personal loan are no longer sitting at 19, 24, and 12%, and she went from juggling 5 separate payments to making 1. That's what strategic debt management looks like. You take the assets and the income you already have and put them in a position where you're working for you instead of against you. Now, I want to be clear about this. The quick and easy home equity loan is for homeowners who already have equity in their home. If you're renting, if you're a first-time buyer just getting started, this isn't your move yet. But if you own a home here in Southern California or anywhere in the country, and you're sitting on equity while carrying expensive debt somewhere else, that math doesn't add up. And we should talk about it. Go to rsarlings.com/homewealth. rsarlings.com/homewealth. And here's where I see too often. People drain their savings trying to pay things off one at a time. They throw every spare dollar into debt, and then the water heater goes out. And now they've got no cash, no emergency fund, and they're right back on the credit card again. 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. That's why I always talk about safety, liquidity, and return in that order. First, make sure you're safe. You've got reserves. You can handle the unexpected. Then make sure your money is liquid. You can get to it when you need it. And then focus on the return, which includes reducing the cost of your debt and freeing up your monthly cash flow. Americans are carrying over $645 billion in revolving credit card debt right now. The average balance for someone carrying credit card debt is nearly $11,000. The interest rates on those cards can run up into the mid-20% range. That is expensive money. And that medical debt example I just gave you, that's something most people get wrong. Most medical providers don't charge interest. If you are a hospital, you can usually set up a payment plan at 0%. But what do a lot of people do? they put it on a credit card. Now that 0% medical debt just became 22% credit card debt, and medical debts gets treated differently by the credit bureaus. The moment you convert it to credit card debt, you lose that protection. So if you have medical debt, do not put on a credit card. Talk to the provider. Set up a plan, and if it makes sense as part of a bigger strategy to fold it into an equity loan for cash flow purposes, that's a conversation worth having. So what should you do right now? If you're a homeowner with equity, go to rsrlinks.com/homewealth. That's rsrlinks.com/homewealth. See what that equity can do for you. And for everyone, go to rsrlinks.com/keysteps. That's rsrlinks.com/keysteps. You'll find the steps to get started on building a real plan for your money, not a one-size-fits-all tip from the internet, a plan that looks at your full picture, your debts, your cash flow, your goals, and helps you make decisions that actually move the needle. Because strategy beats rate every single time. I am Ron Siegel, your certified liability advisor, helping families build wealth through strategic debt management. Thanks for listening to the Your Credit Matters segment, brought to you by rsrlinks.com/debt-free, rsrlinks.com/debt-free. And as always, we ask, set that first radio preset button to come back here and join Ron Siegel Radio, where we only speak about items affecting your house and your bank account. Thanks to all of our sponsors. A big thanks to Josh and Sean who are engineering us today. And of course, a special thanks to you for spending a little bit of your day with us. That's all for Ron Siegel Radio. Again, if you have any questions or to meet any of our guests, call me anytime, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. And remember, make a lot of money so you can help a lot of people and have a lot of fun. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next time on Ron Siegel Radio.